to help with this further emergence, because it's going on a lot. It's a lot of it going on at the moment in all sorts of ways. Just locally here, I've been hearing stories about different people doing very strange things, very out of character things, and it's as I kind of look into that and meditate on it, it's a version of the kind of disruption that further emergence causes, um, because there's a feeling of, or, well, not a feeling. There's a, what would it be called? Kind of a idea that if you're in a hard place, that you're just like, "Oh, I just want to change it all. I just want to change everything. I just want to be a completely different person." And while that the essence of that might be true, it's very hard to change everything. It's very, it's not hard to do it, but it's very disorienting. It's like, like I did a lot of personal development trainings in the late 80s, early 90s. And they were the sort of cathartic kind of personal development trainings where you'd come in on a Thursday or Friday and you'd leave Sunday. You'd be a different person on Sunday. And I saw it many times with people, with myself and with other people. I can remember when I went through my first one, I had previously I had been doing a video production course and I did well in it, and but it finished. And then I went away for the summer, and I was in America and I was doing all sorts of filming stuff, and they were giving an award for the best student of that class, and I won it. And the course I was doing it in was in Kerry, where I live now. But back then I was, in Dublin, and to come down to Kerry, it was like a 5 hour bus journey, which I used to do when I was doing the training. But then I'd been to America and so on, things had happened to me. I was a different person. And I, I did this personal development training the weekend before I was to come and receive my award. And I mean, I was so like cool about it. I'm like, I'm such a busy and important person, because when they rang up to tell me I'd won the award, I was like, oh, that's great. That's fantastic. And they're like, well, can you come down to get it, to receive it? I was like, well, hang on now. Yeah, that's going to be really hard. I think I had a job. I think I was working in an animation studio when I came back from America. So, I wasn't being completely rock star about it, but I was a bit. And they were like, well, we'll fly you down, right? Now, back then, I flew to America and I'd fly to England or something like that. But to fly internally in Ireland, like Ireland is a small country. So to fly, the plane goes up and it comes down very quickly. So yeah, I was like, yeah, okay, if you'll fly me down, I'll come down for it. And then I went and did the personal development training. And, I went in on the Thursday and I came out on the Sunday, and like, in the final process, there's this beautiful process, and you have your eyes closed and you form this ring in the room, big ring, circle, big circle. And they play this really moving music, and I'd been through so much and I'd shed so much, and I'd let so much go. I was like standing there listening to this music, and you're supposed to have your eyes closed, right? I was like sobbing my eyes out, right? Sobbing my little heart out, listening to this music. I think it was Neil Diamond. They were really into Neil Diamond in that, I can't remember what the song was, but I was like, yeah, Neil, you fucking, yeah. Anyway, I opened my eyes and my mother and my brother were in front of me, right? And my brother, who'd been through the training, right? My brother Paul, he'd been through the training as well, that this personal development training before me. So he knew what was going on, and he was like, yeah, John. But my mother, who perhaps had been through the training as well, but my mother was like emotionally, she was a bit of a toughie, and she was like cringing. Because she must have been standing there looking at me sobbing my heart out, just feeling a lot of emotions she didn't want to feel in a group of people she didn't know. So it was very funny to open my eyes and see my brother like, beaming, and my mother like very kind of feeling uncomfortable. Anyway, so the next day I went to the airport and got on the plane, and I was tripping. I was totally tripping. I was blissed out on all this stuff. And like I'm a bit embarrassed about it now because the guy who was the teacher for the personal development thing, like I was in the plane, I was kind of sobbing a little bit, to myself because it was an overcast kind of day, and then when the plane went above the clouds, there was the sunshine. It's like, oh my God, the sun is always shining above the clouds. It's so beautiful, man. So yeah, poor old Paul Dolan. When he picked me up in the car, I was like, practically, I love you, man. I mean, I didn't say that to him, but he just knew there was something really different about me. And yeah, I kind of waltzed through the award ceremony in a haze of love and peace, and it was lovely. But the point is, that really cracked something open in me. But it didn't take long before I reorganized myself into a fairly close version of what I'd been before. Maybe a little bit different, a little bit more open, a little bit more loving, a little bit more spontaneous. And that's not because, I failed as a personal development person. Not at all. It's from my understanding of how it works, and I read a very good description of this in one of Carlos Castaneda's books. Carlos Castaneda is this guy, and I'm probably going to, spoiler alert, I'm going to give lots of probably misinformation about Carlos Castaneda. So if you're curious about Carlos Castaneda, look him up and get the correct facts, because these are probably all going to be wrong. Because I just remember stories and the gist of the story, and then the rest is a bit soupy. So he had Carlos Castaneda was a researcher who went to Mexico, I'm pretty sure of that. And through one thing and another, he got in touch with, or came in contact with a shaman whose name was Don Juan, which I always thought was a terrible name for a shaman slash guru, because Don Juan, I always associate him with the romantic Don Juan, the seducer Don Juan. Anyway, so Don Juan was explaining something to him one day, and they were in a restaurant, and he was explaining about reality and how we organize it. And Carlos was like not getting it, and he said, "Okay." Don Juan says, "Okay, reality is like this table. Okay, it's got the salt and pepper and the cup and the spoon and the plates and everything is, and you know where everything is on the top of the table, and it's great." And he said, "This isn't reality. This is just what you know. This top of the table. And if you move something on the table, you get a bit disoriented because you're in there and you go, I know where the salt is, I know where the pepper is, I know where the spoon is, I know where the cup is. And if you move too much of the table, of the stuff on the table, you become really disoriented. And if you want to really blow your mind, look under the table, because under the table is, just hit the mic there, under the table is what's really going on. That's where the real reality is. But it's so spacious and empty to speak of that you'll just lose your mind pretty fast. So don't be in a hurry to change everything on the top of the table, because the knowing where all the different things are helps keep you sane. I've always remembered that, and I've seen it in practice, because even though if the salt is your low self-opinion, and maybe if the pepper is your anger at your parents, I'm just making this up, right? And maybe if the cup is, being shy or something, or being angry, and you kind of go, yeah, I just want to wipe the top of the table. I just want to get rid of all that stuff. It can be really, really disorienting, and you can feel like you're going crazy. And often, it's a case of just moving the pepper a little bit, and then move it a little bit more, and then move it a little bit more, and little by little, and over time, you can move it wherever you want, and you can get it off the table if that's what you want. And I've seen it with people as well who've made huge changes, and then they say, oh, it's got pushback from that. And it's like, well, it's probably not pushback. It's probably just your system's naturally regulating mechanism to sort of keep you sane. And in some cases, I've said to people, well, maybe just do something, something that will just help you ground yourself in some way or another. Like if you had, like say you were, if you changed like three or four major things, and you still had this thing that you were, and all positive things, but you still had this thing that was a little bit, maybe you like to binge watch TV or something, and you felt a little bit bad about that, and you'd done all these other great things, but you were feeling really disturbed, and you didn't know why. I'd sort of maybe just have a bit of a binge on the telly, just to sort of ground everything. And it's kind of like walking around the table going, oh yeah, there's the salt again. Oh, okay, all right, everything's fine. In a weird way, even though all the stuff on the table is very personal, like your anger and your shame or whatever it is, this what I'm talking about is to do with orientation, and that's kind of impersonal. So there's a lot of this going on at the moment. Of it's almost like the table has been whacked at the side, hit hard, and everything is a bit skew-if for everybody. So in a way, everybody's kind of gone through further emergence in one way or another, and it's just some people are maybe more conscious of it than others. But it seems like everybody, that's a nice sweeping statement. Everybody is going through it. That's what it looks like to me, and it's got all the hallmarks of further emergence. It can be painful, disorienting, and it can come out very sideways if you're not conscious of it. So yeah, if you're dealing with people, I encourage you to be kind to them, because it doesn't really matter what they're saying or doing unless they're trying to hurt you, physically hurt you. It will be this in action in one way or another. So I think the best way to treat everybody is if you've ever come upon a car accident and nobody's hurt but everybody's shaken, think of how you would be with those people. You wouldn't be going, well, what speed were you doing, and were you wearing your seatbelt, and how come the car is that way? I don't think maybe you were at fault. You wouldn't get into anything like that with them. You just be very kind to them. You might even put your arm around them. Come on, sit down, take it easy. I'll get you a cup of tea, and just here's a blanket or whatever. And you just, because they're in shock. Everybody's in shock at the moment, as I see it. So, yes. So yeah, these little Zoom chats are a chance just to talk about it, because it's just really helpful to talk about it, particularly when everything's moved on the table on you too suddenly, too quickly, and you're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it's just nice to talk about it. Not that I will have all the answers or not, but I do have quite a bit of experience of it, and I can reflect some things back to you. Sometimes they'll be great, sometimes they'll be off, but that's the way it is with everybody. But the fact of hearing yourself saying it can crystallize. I find this with myself a lot. There's something powerful about talking and saying it out. And as I'm saying things, often I'll be to one side going, wow, yeah, that's it. Hadn't really put it all together, but yeah, that's what's going on.